Hello. I was just in settings starting the broadcast. I'm doing good. I'm allowing like the voice and the party and all that hoopla before I start the match. Oh, weird. It's not showing the title I put on the broadcast. I would. I feel the same. I've finished a lot of GM3 strongholds about a handful of times, like probably under 20 for each one. I'm yeah, yeah. If you guys are ever up for the challenge to bump it up to GM3, let me know. I'm always okay with trying it at least once with a good crew. If we figure out we need to shift the crew a little bit, that's what you have to do. Yep. We'll we'll be fine on GM2. On GM2, we'll be able to cover each other's back. But if we're talking GM3 in the future, yeah, I'm sure if you go down, we'll be able to cover you too. It's just a little tougher. We have to watch each other's back a lot more, watch the health, so we don't squad defeat. Even if that means one person stays back so the other three kind of do damage. You're trying to keep that goal, but some people kind of miss that halfway through, or towards the end we get a little too relaxed, and then you end up making up 20 minutes of lost time again. It's about what it looks like. Sorry, I see this already. Consumables, I'm just gonna throw those on real quick. What would you guys say you run like 70% of the time that you're always crafting? Yeah, sure. Okay. I could say why I don't run gear, but go ahead. Ah, okay. Try to get your gear back for your ultimate. You try to get your ultimate back as fast as possible, or just for extra health and defense, like survivability. Okay. Okay. There was like not too many variety of builds when I was looking into Rangers at the time, and they had an ultimate build. Like you were supposed to be able to have your battery ultimate return quickly. So I looked into like the components they were using or whatever that they were thinking was a good idea for that. Recharge had a lot to do with it, so that gear sigil was really good. I thought the gear sigil would have been like gear damage in some respect or something because of all the other stuff does damage. So like I like combo because combo is actually consistent with things I do. Like I like flying, but if I'm not flying, it's not being used. I like shield, but if my shield's broken, it's not being used. So I use armor in combo. I like melee on all the time because I'm always trying to hit things and it's part of my combos. I guess storm people don't want to use melee as much, but I do use it as much as I can. I used to put my gear all the time, but I realized I could make it up in so many other ways. The component for the ranger is really good, but there's also a lot of inscriptions that are on my stuff. The gear sigil is like only 30%. That's not enough for me. What did you think you were getting the gear sigil for? Was that the recharge rate on the grenade or a different item? Which gear are you using? The gambit? Are you doing it for the like the ultimate charges? Because that's what I was using for. The battery build was using the last argument, I think. The gambit's the other one. I mean, I'm talking detonators. The gambit would be the other grenade, unless you're gonna use like a cold grenade or something. Frost primer. Pulse grenade? Is that the one that shoots like the 4? No, that's the... I don't know that one.
The monaster's already steps ahead.
Heat seeker. Okay. So what's the effect when it goes off? When it's a masterwork, what's the effect? I can't remember. I was thinking the combos have a lot to do with it, the healing that you need. But what was the effect with that gear that makes that unique to the other gear? That you needed it, like for masterwork and a legendary, the components gear changes. You get special effect with it, so I couldn't think off the top of my head with that. What the seeker does. So like you get melee benefits on some of them. I'm getting ultimate charges with the last argument. The gambit gives you something different. Maybe melee or something. Let's see. I think I have all of them. Just not all of them in legendary. Oh, I'm using the gambit right now, actually. It gives you
just couldn't resist.
Hitting an enemy with the grenade detonates an ice explosion.
I don't want you to miss what happens next. Come to the cenotaph. I've saved you a front row seat.
The seeker grenades, is that what you said? That's the grand opening. I have the one that's got, wait, the heat seeker? What's the heat seeker? I put in a bunch of numbers like you would for code. Like you have 8 numbers that you put in, right? And there's usually a space between them. Unless you in a string of 8 numbers, so I probably fucked it up. But it put in a bunch of stars. Like if I was, I put 1001 and then a space and 1000. Just messed with the message instead of putting numbers. It actually changed it.
That's it.
Monitor's still ahead. Keep pushing.
I'm using Recurring Vengeance, and I was using Gambit, and it was terrible. I hated the combos. I mean, I'm scared to use Argo's Mace, because I've never seen it work well. But I have that thing in Legendary 2, and I have 2 Recurring Vengeance. I never feel like they're fun to use. I've never got them to be relevant in the game. I only end up pigeonholing my ranger into one type of loadout that I like, just because I didn't try all the gear. I think my ranger's weak.
Ouch! Better him than you. Show that thing some payback, will you? Need some help?
Primed.
I'm in trouble here.
Oh, weird. Good try, guys. Good try. Is anybody else excited about the ranger skin in the shop again? The ranger armor? Yeah, the one that looks like he's straight out of Army of Two.
Farthest I've gone in the heart of rage. You alright, Faye?
You know what I'm talking about. He's got like the heavy gunner armor.
Don't worry. I'll be home for supper.
Yeah, I ended up buying the Interceptor one earlier, so I'm waiting for the shop to give us our Alliance coin, and then I have that before the shop switches over again. I'm gonna grab the Ranger armor. Unless I want to wait. There might be something good after, right? I waited last time. I didn't get it. I've never seen recharge rate work better than just having gear charges. I still can make it work better than like trying to make something into an infinite gear, and those don't work anymore. I It has to be a strong primer. It has to be a strong primer. If you have a weak primer, it's not gonna stick. It's weird, like they changed. Yeah, they changed it. Like if you have, let's say, a masterwork primer, it's not gonna be as effective as a legendary primer. That's the only way I can think of it. Because there's no real value between masterworks that's gonna make one primer better than another primer. But if you have a good primer on a masterwork, it's gonna be better than a primer on an epic, or a rare, or a common. So, like a common weapon, it's going to prime a component, but it's not going to be better than a weapon that primes, including the component effect,
Still here.
etc.
Have me worry. She's pushing herself to the limit, keeping your jab running.
I can do this.
I have my doubts. No one asked you.
Freelancer. Can you hear me?
I read you, Faye. You alright?
Peachy. Just concentrating.
It's taken everything she's got to keep your jab at full functionality. Not everything. She still has her pocket. Not one of your better lines. And of course, the Dominion just had to book it. Silence it so we can reach the monitor.
Is that the problem? I feel like I'm muted. Okay.
Give me a hand.
Shit. I need to mute myself then.
all for cracking Dominion skulls, but don't forget the echoes.
I can't handle that combination setup. I don't know how you're doing it, but more props to you, man. Argo's mace and the Seeker missile, the Grand Opening is what the legendary is called. The Masterwork legendary. Argo's mace is not giving you a
Still a
combo.
few echoes hanging around.
I did. So you're gonna rely on primer with your weapon, or primer with your melee. Your melee is a primer instinctively until they give you a choice to change it to a detonator. It's gonna come from your weapon. He's just doing straight up damage. He's not doing actual combos. Do you do a lot of GM1 gameplay or GM2 gameplay? Do you use cold-blooded? I'll show you that. That one's fun. I don't use it very often, but it's good. Endgame for me is probably last argument, but cold-blooded is a really good second for me. Explosive blast is cool. I have a good one, but I don't like using it. It's a lot of fire prime, but I already do fire prime on my weapon. Can't do a better ice prime. I mean, I can, but I don't want to waste a component to do it. So I don't. But like, I'll use a random gear instead of an effective one. So you see, like the big benefits really it's the combos.
You know the drill. Collect the echoes and return them to the relic.
Yeah. So GM2 is scaled a little harder for you than GM1. Not just like you in particular. I mean, like in the game, when you go to GM1 and then you go to GM2, you want to get in more combos to get kills. It makes the gameplay more satisfying. Yeah, when you get to GM3, you have to do combos with like your teammates in multiple successive rates. I got you. Now that gear, that gear is a laser. It's not going to prime, so you can't do a combo off of it. It's not going to detonate, but it's going to take your shields down, and it's a fire element, so it'll take most shields down. But it's the same as your Wellner's Blitz, it's fire prime, so you're going to want to switch it up to something else, like either fight Ash. Okay. So that one's for your gear charges. That's really good. That's going to be half of your combos. That's how I'm running right now. But I'm not running a detonator. I'm running a primer for my gear, so it's helping you guys. I'm running a primer on my weapon, so that's helping you guys. But if I don't run another gear detonator, I'm not comboing on my own. I'm only supporting you guys for combos. I took off last argument to show a cold-blooded, so you would see the difference with the frost priming and the fire priming. Like you alternate. You don't go fire prime, because it's going to have a cooldown time before you can get the fire to activate the prime. So instead of hitting it with fire, I'm going to go to frost, and it activates frost immediately, and you can combo. Now I can switch it to fire immediately, and you can combo. But I can't combo, so I have to wait for you guys and hear the chime.
Watch your head. Meteors.
You're good as long as you're not getting hit. See his health will go away fast. Your ultimate might not even make a hit yet. You just alternate it. I mean, if you can, otherwise you wait for somebody else to frost prime before you do another fire. If you have a secondary damage, like critical damage, you can throw that out. There you go. He's zeroed out for me. Primed. Get by the door. Oh, that's good. Oh no, everybody's all glitched out. I'm in the door, I'm under the map. Like, oh, what the hell? It's Frost. Use your in the map menu now that you're walking around and try and respawn that way. If you're not getting hit, you might be able to hold L3. Yeah, I think he's heading out. You guys want to go to the door or get over there?
Chase him down. The heart rate. It's changing.
The monitor. He's linked to the storm. Through the cenotaph.
Of course, he chose acid.
Do you guys ever explore on this side of the map? Like outside of the 3 platforms that everybody's always firing on? I was using my storm the other day and I was just like looking at the boundaries outside of those same spots everybody's always on. It's kind of like, do I want to stand there every time, over and over? Like this spot right here. There's not just one spot, there's like 4 of them. They're just on the outside instead of on the platforms. It's just an example. This one's really good. Because the ads only spawn on the platforms, they don't chase you on the outside. Just so you know. Yeah. That I noticed. They never came at me. And then you're not worried about falling in the middle of the acid bullshit. I also never see him aim at me when I'm over there. He's always aiming at the people on the platforms before he aims at anybody on the outside. But I was being stormed too. I don't know if that mattered at all. He just kind of pulls aggro towards the guy who's closer. He doesn't really care about you on the outside. He might shoot at you like 1 or 2 times, but he's not like gonna run at you and do a melee. He might run at me or point at me. It's kind of weird. Different. I mean, there's a lot of Frost Primes going on him right now, and Fire Prime. Between Rallner's Blaze and then my Frost Grenade. But I don't have any detonator, and then my melee is a Prime. When you guys switch to that other melee weapon, when it's a detonator for Ranger, this might be a really good loadout for that. You can alternate with all these primes and then throw that detonator out. I have one of those. It's the Gambit's considered like ice explosions, but it's not a frost primer. So this one's a frost primer, cold-blooded. I don't have it in legendary. I don't use it very much. But just throwing out my Rallner's Blaze right after my cold-blooded, it's like I'm eating a prime with one under prime. They don't stack on top of each other. They never really did. Ouch, right on my head. His big staff bonked me in the head. So like, he might throw a couple balls at you and stuff, but... Ooh, is he actually spawning near you? No, he's still between the platforms. He's not really looking at the outside edge. Like, I could stand right next to his face over here and he wouldn't care about me. He's just gonna throw a little bit of acid, if anything. It's So you worry about half the moveset, I guess is what I'm saying. If you were worried about like doing a lot of defensive stuff or trying to evade a lot, you have to worry about that a lot with the what you call him? The official name of that, he's the Unfathomed or whatever. The Fury. In the Sunken Cell. Anyway, if you could like limit the amount of attacks that you have to dodge or whatever, all you have to worry about are the purple beams of light and like being electrocuted and going down. Other than that, you could take down the Sunken Cell pretty easily without like a squad defeat. If you hover, you just stay near the water and you're like always cooled off. You don't really get overheated. You don't get hit by melee. So any components you can use on a javelin to stay in the air would be really beneficial by the end game of it.
He doesn't have full control. The Senator activated him to another location.
Whenever they start the audio log and stuff. Yeah, I got the cold-blooded and I can alternate that with my round blades. That's like a fire prime, the frost prime, right? I keep talking about that over and over. But I'm already doing that with my siege breaker. That's my sniper rifle. So now I can use like a Thunderbolt of Yavenia, and I can use that for like knocking shields down for other enemies. Yeah, you can. Hold on. $13,000 on the head. Nice. $17,000. I'm just watching the same gear go up. It's like 13,000, then it went up to 17. It's like a low 17,000, 17.2. Like Rawlner's Blaze is always 7,000. Sly bitch.
He's dead. It's over.
Sound better?
The anthem. I let it go.
We did it! Monitor wasn't so tough after all. Oh yeah, he's a king.
You couple that with like certain things you hold, you don't have to use that same weapon to fire it to get that effect. So Wyvern Blitz will get the effect, but you're not going to benefit the pistol. You have to use the sniper rifle for that effect on the weak point. But the other one, Death from Above, kills on weak point, and it benefits other weapons that shoot on weak point when you're floating. That's how you stack it. There's a conductive lattice, it's like electricity buffs for your interceptor, and you can use the Thunderbolt of Yevgenia, which is a lightning damage rifle, and it works well. A lot of shields are weak on that. A large, yeah, electrical explosion, something like that. It's a good critical hit bolt. Yeah, it's really decent for shields when they are weak against that element. Unfortunately, if they're not, you gotta figure out something else. There shouldn't be too many purples that you need that you can't like just make unless it's a support. Those are usually unique. You're always going to get supports that are different. Your game style is to your own. If you're trying to do game styles for challenges, you're going to get into a position where your javelin is not doing combos. You're still killing things and you're learning how to play the game. You're just playing styles that work better in hard and work better in normal than it does in GM1 and GM2. It's your game style. You want to handicap yourself that's like a variation of the game style. You could be really good at it from far away and we don't notice it because we're not playing behind your javelin. You are. At the same point, you have challenges in the game, and you get legendaries for all your different gears. So you're gonna have to run those gears at some point to kill legendary enemies in free play or anything. So if you're gonna run GM1, the easiest way to finish challenges in higher difficulties, like we're trying, that's combo. That's why we're pressing the idea of combos. Doesn't mean that's the only way. That's the most that we use for each other. Yeah. No. Cold-blooded is a primer if you need an ice prime. I don't like fighting my last argument. That's like endgame. That's like my main gear that I use. It's a detonator. It brings back ultimate charges. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, Gambit to me is a detonator. Oh. Just like like maybe like last argument and the Gambit, the detonators, those are my main picks. If you need a primer for a gear and that, then Cold-Blooded is really good. That's a Frost Prime and you can help out other people. You're gonna slack off and you're detonating, so you're not gonna get as many combos for health back. If that's what you're looking for in your game style. You want to get a combo for the armor boost. Later you're going to have Tip of the Spear where you're not just giving yourself combos, but you're giving your teammates armor. Yeah, so that's just a different playstyle. If that's the way you want to do it, you're going to lose a lot of, opportunities for combos if you don't have a detonator. You're leaving opportunities for other people to combo. That's what I was doing. I had double ice, that means I don't have a detonator, and I had fire for a primer. And I have melee, which is a thunder primer, but yeah, they call them primers, and those are going to be what actually put the icon on the enemy. Detonators don't put icons on the enemy. They take them away. All we're talking about Yeah, what we're talking about with elements is just like you have an ability to stack two of them together or not. You can stack three of them together if you choose to, but like two elements will not stack together, and that's where you can make the refresh rate faster. That's what I was talking about with suggestions. I keep talking combos about that. Like fire and ice. Yeah, that's thunder and acid and either ice or thunder, acid, and fire, because the two don't stack together. The range is limited with detonators, so you have to use gear for the most detonators. You're talking about the tactical onslaught? That's one of my main builds too. I love that. I detonate it with my other gear, my gambit or last argument. I like gambit, but I use last argument because I want charges back for my ultimate. So I made my build towards that. But that's just one style. That's not the only style that people like. Like I just got a masterwork focused freeze. I have to throw it away, but it's a good component. Focus freeze is to change your light machine guns into freezing primers. You lose out on other components like your tip of the spear, but you still gain a primer. Um, I actually stuck with a laser just to show that it's like critical damage between trying to prime or detonate. Usually if you do one of those, you have like a cooldown time. You're throwing stuff and you throw in stuff and then you can't. You know, if I have 200 gear charges or 300 gear charges, that means I can throw it 3 times, right? But then I still have to wait after the 3 times. So I'm just doing some kind of damage between the gear and between detonating, between combos. So like instead of always doing the 3 for priming, if you're doing 3 for 1 prime and then you do 2 hits, you're just doing 2 critical hits. And you back off, you hit 2 critical hits on a different target. You're just doing 2 critical hits for damage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, with the pattern, if you're alternating it because of the fact that you have to hit them 3 times, if you hit them 1 time or hit them 2 times, that's just critical damage. And that's good to pattern that in your attacks because critical damage is important. Just because you're not always going to have an opportunity to throw gear, or you're not always going to have an opportunity to get the combo damage. Yep, yep. But yep. Explosive Blaze is a good grenade, but it's not a detonator. But it has good gear charges. I have like 200 gear charges on it, so I can throw 3 of them. Yeah, it's decent. Tactical Tactical Onslaught is my acid prime, and then I can detonate with my grenade. and then I can use Rellner's Blaze for a fire prime, and then I can detonate with my grenade. I can't change it to ice right away, so I can't use my fire again. I have to wait for somebody else to use ice. So you're stuck. So you wait for your teammate, or you build on your own Kai, and you have to change your components, or you change your weapon. So those are your options. Like for my thought on that build. Mm-hmm. So what you want to listen for is a chime, and then you throw out the next prime. The chime is what's going to be like your cue to start the different effect. Otherwise, you go with one ice prime, and then throw your other ice prime, or one fire prime, your grenade, and then your weapon fire prime. You hear the chime, and then you switch it to a different element, or you wait your turn. Do critical damage while you're waiting your turn, so you're not just standing there. That's what I was saying about critical damage, is if you have a gear that doesn't do a specific priming or a specific detonating, you just have that item for critical damage. There's always something that they have as an option. Cool, thank you.